Hey, welcome back to Daily Hope. Have you heard the term prophecy? A prophet is a real person who God uses to not predict the future, but tell what God's going to do in the future. Now, in the Old Testament, really in God's standard, a prophet, if someone calls himself a prophet, they have to be right every single time or they're disqualified from being a prophet. So, in our day and age, we should be really leery of anyone who calls themselves a prophet. We now have the full Word of God to guide us. There is a spiritual gift of prophecy, but it will never contradict the Word of God. Now, in the Old Testament, God often had prophets in a very specific role. It was to warn the people of judgment that was coming because of their sin, and it was to try to turn them back to God. Interestingly, God often says to prophets, whether they turn back or not, I won't judge you depending on if they turn back. I will judge you if you do your job of telling them to turn back. So very interesting how God used the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, etc. It goes on. And Isaiah is the first in the chronological order of the Bible of the prophets. His book is one of my favorite because, like the book of Daniel, another prophetic book, it includes promises of the Messiah, Jesus, promises that would come true when Jesus came to earth, and promises that will come true in the future when he returns. So, one example of those promises is Isaiah 40, in verse 3, where it says, "Listen, it's the voice of someone shouting, 'Clear the way through the wilderness for the Lord. Make a straight highway through the wasteland for our God.'" Now, that verse, Isaiah 40, verse 3, is exactly what was quoted by John the Baptist when he sees Jesus as the Messiah. He says, "Make straight the way of the Lord, prepare the way of the Lord." Isaiah is so rich in prophecy that we'll look at another prophetic verse tomorrow about Jesus. I will see you then for more Daily Hope.